Hi friends, it's Angela with Wild Violets Art. Oh, I've got a little bit too much feedback. Hopefully that helps. I'm here with the season of sweet or seasons of gold, rain and gold. I'm still getting some feedback. Not sure why. Maybe that's better. Okay. Well, hopefully it's not going to interrupt the video. So this gorgeous suite comprises of six designs, double-sided. So on each side of the cardstock or the designer series paper, and this is a gold foil paper, is different colors and patterns with the two coordinating greens, which are old olive and mossy meadow. So a really beautiful collection of paper. Let me move this over so you've got a better view of it. And then one of the bundles is Greetings of the Season. And this is a wonderful bundle that has all these dies that make these great Christmas tags or gift tags. And you could use this year round because it has to and from. And it says wishing you a happy, and then you could put in birthday. But it's got all kinds of really great sentiments and really beautiful fonts. The other bundle is the Golden Greenery, and it has all of these stamp sets, and then it has coordinating dies along with these specialty dies that cut out really beautiful foliage. So these are the dies that match the stamp sets, and then these are the really beautiful ones that here's just a couple of samples of the really beautiful foliage. My cat got a hold of this one, so it's having a hard time. But anyway, there's lots of options for that. Okay, so those are the two bundles. We're primarily today going to be using um, the gift tags and then the specialty dies, and we're also going to use one of the ephemera packs. This suite also has these really sweet little berries, the cherry cobbler and pearl adhesive dots, and you can see they're just a little pearlescent, and then the red, and of course this really beautiful, very vanilla satin ribbon. So it's just lovely for gifts and gift tags. And just as a reminder, I put together these gift tags. It's one of my videos, so you might want to check it out. These were featured on the website for Stampin' Up, and I decided to do a tutorial on how to make them. I did change a couple things, but for the most part, they just ended up being four really beautiful tags that can be used for Christmas. So check that out. It's on my YouTube video channel. And then I got this gorgeous card from a gal that I bought a scrapbook um, tutorial from. And so using the same one, but isn't that pretty? This is that sophisticated sled die done with shimmery gold or a glitter season of green and gold cardstock. So really beautiful. Okay, so the reason I chose these two cards is because I've been working on this scrapbook, these scrapbook pages, and they're very, very beautiful. But it inspired me to create some cards. Now, this one, I don't have a card for it. Um, But these are some scrapbook pages that I made with the seasons of green and gold. And she had done all the Cricut cutting for like the circle and the font. But I had to come up with obviously all the paper, vellum. I had to stamp the different foliage, die cut some foliage. These are some of the tags from the bundle. And then I added my gold foil. And so this is cherry cobbler, mossy meadow, very vanilla. But isn't that beautiful? And then I added some of our Christmas from 2023. So this was really, really fun. Now this one is another one. And this was a lot of, it looks like Cricut cuts for her to create that. So she sent me the Cricut cut things, and then I just added the designer series paper. This is pecan pie. I added the gold, and then of course the designer series paper, foliage. But these right here, the snowflakes, were all Cricut cut, the joy. But this is one of the dies, it's one of the tags. And then of course I added photos from last year's Christmas as well. So I had lots of photos, and I really wanted to add this beautiful suite to it. And from this, I was inspired to create this card. So as you can see, I don't have the Cricut, and so I'm not able to, and I don't have any recent snowflake dies. Hey, Linda. Yeah, they're great, and they're so beautiful. So you can see that I use this inspiration to create this. Now, I don't have the um, contour dies any longer that have the scallop edged anymore, but I think that would have been really beautiful for this. But I used scraps for all these little banners, and then I used the ephemera pack. Um, so this is Joyful Sayings ephemera pack, and I used the word joy from it. And then this is from an old die set that has retired. It's Time of Giving, and it's got these. Let me get the dies out. So in case you happen to have this in your collection, it's got a little tiny snowflake, and so I use that snowflake to create something similar, and then put the snowflake over the joy. Here, let me bring this up so you can see. You can see all the gold foil just makes it so elegant. So in case you're interested in this, this is retired, and I am selling it. I'll have to take a look at the pricing, but so you can do your scrapbooking, and you can be inspired by your scrapbooking to create cards, like I showed you a couple weeks ago as well. Okay, so we're going to make this one. And then the last scrapbook layout I still have another 7 2-page layouts to do, just so you know. Everything's cut out, all the die cut. I just have to have the time to put it together, and I had a really busy weekend. So, all right, so I have this one. And so she had given me the die cut for this Christmas tree with a sentiment on it, and this die cut piece as well. But the rest was all what I had on hand. And so from that card, or from this scrapbook, I decided to create this card. So you can see I used the strips, and these are all scraps that I have after cutting out all the pieces for 10 scrapbook pages. And what's better than, utilizing that? So this right here is a portion of, just get out some of these. So what I did is I cut this. There's a lot of little extra pieces in here still. Okay. So I cut here and around here so that it's kind of cut like that. Okay. So in other words, I cut through here. So I had these for one of my cards and then the remaining. So you can see this isn't a full one of these. I just felt like it took up too much of the card. So I'm using for two cards. So the one we're going to make here shortly from this card. Okay. But aren't these beautiful? I'm just really, really happy with these. We had so much fun that Christmas. And it was so wonderful to have people in our home for the first time. Okay. So let's start on this card. We'll do this one first. It's a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm using very vanilla cardstock for my card base. So that's 8.5 by 5.5. Scored at 4.25. And then I have 5 strips of designer series paper. And you can see that some of these I used both sides. And all of them are 3 3/4 by 7/8. So it leaves just a little bit of, see, here we go. I'm going to hold this down with something so it's not flipping around so much. So 3 3/4 by 7/8, and it allows me to put 5 strips of cardstock, and these are just scraps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the bottom one. Don't need a lot of glue on a card like this, so I don't want to make a mess. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it down here at the bottom. You know, I'm really sorry about the feedback. I don't know what's happening. Oh, maybe my earbud's not working. Let me try a different one. Sometimes they just don't connect. That's better? Oh, much. Okay. All right, so I'm going to glue the bottom one, and I'm going to glue the top one, and then I can work into the middle, because you'll find that there's about 1/8 of an inch between each piece of cardstock. But I want the top and the bottom to be established so that it has the same dimensions on all 3 sides. So the top and the 2 sides. Let's see what I mean. Okay. And then now I can start putting the rest of my, get it so it stops moving around so much. Now, if you want to do like a little pencil line, if that will help you, you know, that works. Now, I'm not going to put glue on the back of this gold foil because what I find is the glue absorbs up into the paper and it makes a ridge. So I'm going to use tear and tape, or you can use whatever sticky glue that you have that's so that it doesn't, it's not a liquid. Okay. Just working from top to bottom and bottom to top, and then I'll land in the middle, hopefully with all the right spacing. So now that I have that part done, I can let it sit. So I have my foliage here, and I've got some of the little pieces still stuck in here. So this is a fir bough, obviously, or fir pieces. And I'm going to overlap it like so. And then I'm going to place some glue dots underneath it so that they stay together and they're popped up a little bit. So I'm just going to use some of the mini ones. And I don't need very many. And I'm just going to make sure that it's not hanging over the edge of my card. Okay, so I'm making sure that this nor this is hanging off the edge. All right, so you can see now this is the rest of this, and you can kind of see where I cut it from. Okay, so let me just bring it back up to you, and you can see that I cut this portion and left the remaining for the other card. So this will work just perfectly underneath my sentiment label. Okay, so the fun thing about this set of stamps is that you can mix and match however you want to. You can have a really pretty Merry and then use the Christmas. You can have wishing you a happy Christmas, a happy New Year, to you and yours. And then there's some that are all together, like it's the most wonderful time of year. May your holiday season be filled with warm and cheerful celebration. There's love and joy for you. And these are all smaller than they actually are. So be careful. If you're trying to get something to fit in a label, you actually need to use the stamps because they're bigger than what's being shown here. Okay. So what I did is I used, let's see what will work best. I used Merry and then Christmas and then to you and yours. Okay. So you can see that I actually used 3 stamps and I put them all together on one block. Okay. So that way I don't have to come back and try to make sure that everything's lined up like it needs to be. So I'm using the Mossy Meadow. And of course, I just got ink on my fingers. I don't seem to be able to do anything anymore without getting myself all inked up. And I'm going to place it in the middle. And this is a 2 3/4, or no, 2.5 by 3 1/4 piece of Berry Vanilla. And then I'm going to use this tag right here. Okay. And so you can see it fits over it really nicely. And I just want to make sure that the font lines up with the tag. And then I'll use my trusty little Post-it note to hold it in place. I'm going to die cut it real quick. I've already die cut out everything else in advance just to help speed up. Right. Worked perfectly. All right, and then I've got a little bit of this gold. It comes in a pack, a 2-pack of gold and silver trim. It's not part of the suite. but I wanted just something that would coordinate really nicely with the gold, because I felt like the Very Vanilla was just a little bit too big for this. I'm using little tweezers to thread. I'm going to thread it through the loop, and I'll bring this up so you can see what I'm doing here. So you can see that I'm threading it through the loop, and that way it looks like a sweet little Christmas tag. Okay, so I'm going to add some big dimensionals on the back of this, and I'm putting them to one side because I don't want it to interrupt with what I've got going on here. And then I want this to just come out on one side like so that when I'm done, and so I'm just going to put one more dimensional here, and hopefully it doesn't get in the way of that. That looks like it's just fine. Okay. All right, and then I'm just going to add some berries. These are little triple berries that are together, so you can see they come all together. And I need one more of the red, plain red cherry cobbler. And that's it for that card. So you can see how easy it was. And so I used one of these large in gold and cut it up and was able to use it for both. So you could use the whole thing if you wanted, but I just felt like it was plenty. So a really beautiful card. All right, so let's leave this here so you can see it. We'll work on the other card. Okay, so this one, like I said, I'm using the Joyful Sayings ephemera pack, and I showed this to you on Friday when I was putting together the Christmas ornament kit, and it's just got these great little sayings, lots of different choices for you to make, just all kinds of things. I mean, these are great for gift tags or for Christmas cards, whatever you need. But I think there's just a lot of variety in here, and I love that I don't have to stamp or fussy cut. I have everything I need just in this ephemera pack. So I decided to use the Joy from here instead of die cutting a J and a Y. All right, so I'm using pecan pie as the card base. And then typically I would die cut something out of the middle so that I'm using the gold foil as much as possible. But I bought lots of gold foil and I still have lots left. So, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over, just an A2 card in pecan pie, because we're using that scrapbook page as an inspiration. Just as a reminder, it's this beautiful scrapbook page that we're using as inspiration for this card. So you can see all the little banners. All right. So I don't have any scallops anymore. So, all right, so I'm going to glue or adhere this gold foil to my card base. And again, I'm using tear and tape because the gold foil tends to absorb glue, and then we get these weird little, at least I get weird little ridges in my gold foil. And I'm going to center it on this card base. Right. Okay. So I've already die cut out the little snowflake. And what I'm using is because I don't have a scalloped circle anymore, I am using the Spotlight on Nature dies, and I'm using the next to the smallest die here. And it's about 1.5 inches in size, actually closer to 1 3/4, but not quite. And that is my first circle. And then I have a 1 3/8 inch circle, and this is no longer available. It's retired, but you can possibly find it. And I'm just gluing it on here. You can see what it looks like. It just leaves a little bit of a pattern. And then I'm going to add this little snowflake that I die cut out of a 1 1/4 inch circle. And so what I'm going to do to pop this up is I'm going to add some mini dimensionals. And I need them to be pretty small, so I'm actually cutting them in quarters. So I need a little tiny one in the middle, and then some little ones around the edge. Just so you can see the back of it. Okay, so I'm just adding some little ones behind. You may have something different, or you may have a pretty snowflake. I didn't buy any snowflakes this year. I had a limited budget, limited amount of time after Christina's passing, and our family, we spend a lot of the weekends with the kids. So, okay, so this will be for the sentiment. This snowflake will cover up the joy. All right. So for all the flags, okay. So I have another bunch that is retired, and it's the banner, pick a banner, and I like to use it. But if you don't have the pick a banner punch, you can always, and I've showed this to you before, but just in case, oh, thank you. You can just do a little snip up the middle of your piece of cardstock, and then you go from the corner up to that place where you snipped, and you're able to get an even banner. Okay, so you can see. All right, so this is going to go about right here. But for the rest of these, I'm just going to use my banner pick a punch. It's just so much easier. And I just make sure that it's centered. I had a little bit of this gold glimmer paper, not very much, but I used it for, and it's retired. So I can't really recommend. But if you have some in your pack, it just kind of adds a little extra. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I am using a Post-it note so that I can get this very tiny scrap. Again, I'm using my scraps for a reason. That way I can create banners from the tiny little pieces. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm adding a little extra length so that I can get it in there and cut my banners. So, my little cheat. Okay, so we're going to place all of these. And so I'm going to start on the left-hand side. Line it up with the left side of my card. And I am taking the banners all the way to the top. Okay. And most of these banners get covered up with this label size, which I think is unfortunate, but couldn't be helped. And I'm just overlapping them just a little bit. Just making sure that they're going straight up and down as much as possible. And this one needs a little piece of tear and tape. You can also use your stamp and seal. That would work as well. That would keep it from having that ridge that shows up. Oops, this needs to go over just a little bit. All right, so now this one, I learned the hard way, needs to be, have glue on. And I didn't get it to stick last time. And I'm going to hold off putting this one on until I put my label on. Okay, so now I'm going to glue my label on. And yes, it's unfortunate that it covers up almost all of my banners, but I really like the look of that. So I'm going to place it up a little bit higher than I did this other one so that my banners show. And then I can place this one here, and I'm actually going to cut off a little bit off the top, okay? So it doesn't get as much in the way of my sentiment. All right. Just trim off the excess. All right. So for this little sentiment, you can use just some little tiny dots. It's too bad they don't make these into stickers. I need to add that to their suggestion box. I have kitties that are not happy my door is closed, but I'm not happy when they're in here because they're naughty. Okay. Little tiny dimensional in the middle of my snowflake. Snowflake right over the word joy. Okay, so for the embellishments, I'm using the adhesive back sparkle gems. You can see how pretty they are. Gold, silver, and black. And of course, gold are the ones that I've used the most of. And I'm going to cover up that little hole with a big one. And then placing a little one. And then this one, because there's nothing down here, I'm going to put one down here to kind of add visual interest. And now this needs to be placed in the top corner. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to add some large dimensionals on the back here. Probably don't need this many, but I don't like my cards to sink. Okay. And then I'm going to center it on the gold. And we're done. So, just as a reminder, this card is inspired by this scrapbook page. And this card was inspired by this scrapbook page. So you can see that whatever it is you're doing scrapbooking wise, you can inspire yourself for cards, or you can use a card and inspire yourself for a scrapbook page. So, I love how they turned out, and they're beautiful Christmas cards. This one I think would be really, really easy to mass produce. So if you're doing 70 or 80 Christmas cards like I do, you've got something that's really actually achievable. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'll have this up on YouTube here shortly. Feel free to like and share from my YouTube channel. Oh, thanks, Linda. Yeah, the gold is helpful if you're the gold foil. Just you don't like it to get ridges, so yeah, it's a good thing to use with something other than glue. But feel free to share my ideas with your friends and or create them yourself. And if you have any questions, be sure to reach out. I will be putting this on my blog here hopefully later this week. I've got a pretty busy week, so I'm not sure and how soon I can get it done. But once I get all my scrapbook pages done, I'll put them in a gallery at the bottom of that blog. So check up and I'll have that here shortly. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Oh, thanks, Linda.